Hello guys, welcome to a new video on Tower of God New World, and in this video I'm going to mainly talk about the Nonstop SSR Plus Limit Break Summon. But first I just wanted to cover the character introduction for Traumerei because we got the video and we got the information on the skills. We don't have the numbers, but we can kind of get them directly from the yesterday's live stream. So we know some information already, but not all of it. And yeah, I will say I'm quickly going to cover this and then we're going to move to the main topic that is again the Nonstop SSR Plus banner. So yeah, we already know Traumerei is going to be an anima support for the green element. I'm probably going to have a look at the video real quick just in case, but not too important because we already saw it yesterday. No audio again, but okay, whatever. Again, we see here green support anima. We're going to see here the path. Now, this one was the active one that was going to give Cobalt and the Kraken the command to attack and also buff them, etc. We're going to read it later. So we see both of their attacks. Then we see this AoE area, which is extremely small, that is going to reduce the enemy resistances and reduce their swiftness. Which, looking at the AoE, it's pretty sad, but we're going to see in a second once we read the skills. Then we have the special move, just a huge AoE that's going to knock back enemies, jolt them, and deal a lot of damage. That's pretty much all. I'm not going to play the video for the special move. And I'd say we can just get started and read the kit. We first start with the passive, and we know he's going to summon both Kraken and Cobalt at the start of the battle for 120% of his stats. And this doesn't seem to scale with levels, so it should be 120% fixed. And then Kraken and Cobalt are going to decrease all enemies' energy by a certain amount, that is 30 every, what was that, like 3 seconds. And I think also those are not going to scale, and then take 30% of Traumerei's damage, not going to scale either. So far, that was the passive that we knew about, and none of it scaled with levels. Now we see the remaining of it, which is some information on Kraken and Cobalt attacks. And Kraken is going to have his attack increased by a percentage that we don't know whenever an ally, including summon beings, die, max number of stacks. And then is going to fire a Shinsu cannon to deal a percentage of his attack as damage to all enemies, as we saw from the video that the AoE is quite big. Then we have Cobalt immediately tries to remove any attack increase buff on barrier an enemy receives, and then is going to detonate a shockwave on all enemies to deal a percentage of their max HP. Doesn't have a cap, so it's the same as add-on. We don't know the percentage. Hopefully it's quite high, but we don't know. And it's going to be capped only against bosses, but that's usual. So that's also interesting. And here it says tries. I'm guessing because obviously you might fail if the enemy has high effect resistance. Not sure, but I guess that's going to be the case. And also if a buff specifically states it cannot be removed from buff removal skills, I'm guessing this passive cannot remove it either. So those are going to be the cases. If it's not one of those two, I believe that buff is going to be removed. So pretty interesting, especially if this doesn't have any internal cooldown, meaning every single time someone gets a buff, even if it's like 5 times in a second or for 5 enemies, like almost at the same time, I hope he can cast this attack 5 times. I doubt it. I'm pretty sure there is going to be internal cooldown, or at the very least, you cannot do it while the animation is ongoing. So if anything happens while Cobalt is actually casting the attack, it won't count. And then as soon as he goes back to rest, he will then try and remove the following ones. I have no idea. Really, I really have no idea. So we will have to actually wait and see him in action to understand that. Then the last part of the passage is just Traumerei, Kraken, and Cobalt are immune to all status effects except for silence and do not move. Which is interesting. Like, kind of weird. And also from the videos, it might even seem like they are not even attacking other than in these use cases. So when an ally dies, Kraken is going to attack. When an enemy buffs his attack or casts a barrier, Cobalt is also going to attack. Those are the only instances other than the actual active skill that we're going to read in a second. So that's pretty weird, but interesting at the same time. Again, we will have to see in action how this all plays out, but the passive is pretty solid, pretty cool. Active one is the small AoE that we saw is going to remove all enemies concealed state. So at least this one is like on all enemies, it's not restricted to the area. But then all the enemies in the area that are nearby are going to have swiftness, physical resistance, and magic resistance decreased. Swiftness is going to be starting of 50 at level 1, 100 at level 5. Physical resistance and magic resistance seems to be 20% not scaling. But again, no confirmation until we actually see this guy live. And this is pretty disappointing if we take into account that the fact that it doesn't move. And if we also take into account the Revolution 7 that we saw yesterday, that as long as Cobalt and Kraken are alive, it cannot be targeted. So are there going to be enemies around him? Probably not, unless you play him in the front line, which is kind of weird. I don't know. So this is strange. I really hope Revolution is going to boost this one a lot. They need to really work on this one because at its current state is not really that useful. Then we have the other active skill. Traumerei is going to become invincible for a certain duration, which is 2 seconds, up to 4 with the exclusive equipment. And then it's going to increase attack of all allies, including summon beings, by 40%, up to 80% level 5, and is then going to order Kraken and Cobalt to attack. Here it says number of times, but it should just be once. So yeah, this is the only way for Kraken and Cobalt to proc these skills other than their like conditions that they already have. We'll see what happens in here. And if that is the case, I would say max cooldown reduction is going to be extremely important, and the same goes for swiftness. So that's both of them are going to be super important on this unit. And then we have special move. We have Traumerei becomes immune to status effects, which he already is, other than silence. So this should include also silence, which okay, not too important, I would say. And then he's going to unleash that massive AoE attack that's going to deal 100% of his attack as damage 12 times, jolting and pushing the enemy's back. And this should go up to 200% 12 times at level 5, which is pretty nice. And again, we have no information on how Revolution is going to improve the special move and the 2 active skills. We only saw the passive upgrade that I mentioned before. So that's going to be pretty interesting. I'm really looking forward to what they're going to give him. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I wanted to mention with this one, I probably talked too much already. So I will move to the other tab where I have the information on the units to pick for the Nonstop SSR Plus banner. Let me just quickly change the view because I will have to, because this way it looks a bit better. So I will first read the disclaimer that I have at the top, and it is I'm assuming we're going to get 9 to 12 copies because we should get around 600 to 900 tickets. 9 copies would be the 600 tickets. We get a 1% chance every 100 summons. Well, obviously 1%. So with 600 tickets, we get 2 PT plus 6 copies. That would be 8, but I'm still like since we're getting 160 tickets, well, we already have 160 tickets, and they kind of said is not included in the 600 totals they were mentioning. I still put a 9 there, even though it could be like an 8, but whatever. And if we get 900 tickets in total, which is likely, I would say we're going to get 12 copies on average, because that's 9 copies from just pulling and then 3 PTs, which is a total of 12. That should be more or less what we can expect to get. And then Archer Q recommended me to add this warning as well, and that is summon only after you have all tickets that are going to be available in this patch so that you are sure that you're picking the right unit for your account. Because if you start pulling and for a unit already assuming you're not going to get it to a certain level, but then they add, like they did for anniversary, like 300 more tickets, that would have changed a lot of stuff. So it's better to just wait it out, see how many tickets you get, and then summon. Unless there is a reason why you really want to summon immediately, or regardless of the amount, if you get more copies, it will still be good with the unit you're going to pick, then sure, you can go ahead. But in general, waiting is not a bad choice. Actually, is the preferred one. And here, I'm going to go over the 4 different categories that I put, but I would never pick a unit that is already at the orange tier unless you're aiming for Revolution Mats from the extra dupes, because that's just a waste. Obviously, if you are a whale, if you already have a lot of units, this video is not going to be really helpful for you because I'm not covering all the units, to be honest. I only put the units that I actually think are worth picking. If all of those are already, like you already have them, are very good dupes, then whatever, you can pretty much do whatever you want, I would say. With the remaining ones, they are not as impactful. Though I didn't mention Gustang in this video at all, but it might be a worth pick if all of these are already okay, because it's going to combo very well with Traumerei, at least from the portion of the kit we already saw. So definitely could be a really solid option. Now I'm going to mention the 4 tiers that I kind of defined for this list. And the first one is you have enough Revolution mats to max all the subnodes, kind of. Also taking into account that we have Traumerei. So if you are going for Traumerei, you also have to deduct the amount that is going to go into him. And pretty sure that's going to be a shit ton. So if you're going to max Traumerei, this category you can entirely, like these first 2 that both have the enough Revolution mats to max, can directly skip it. Don't worry about it, just ignore it. Imagine you have nothing left for your SSR Plus unit. So yeah, in the first tier, we also have Limit Break at purple or red tier, which with 9 to 12 copies will let you get reliably close to Rainbow 5, if not Rainbow 5 directly. And the second category is the same with the Revolution mats, so you have enough to actually max out the nodes that you are getting access to, because you're not going to get access to a lot of them, but you will eventually, so you will need to have them saved up. And the limit break of the unit is green to purple tier. And for green, I also mean like 0 dupes, because you're theoretically at the green tier. You're green 0, let's say. So yeah, if you're in that range, this is kind of the category for you. And then I have the same distinction in purple, red, green, blue in here. But in this one, you have low to no revolution mats. You might have enough for the main nodes, but you definitely don't have enough orange to invest in the relevant subnodes. So these are the categories, and now I'm going to go over the units and why I put them there. The first thing you will notice, obviously, is Kaiser is going to be the best pick no matter what, because she's going to be the first unit you want to max out. She's going to be super helpful in adventure, super helpful in bossing, an extremely good unit to have maxed first, and probably the one with the highest damage in general. So she's a no-brainer. Regardless of what you have, she's the first unit you want to max. Then I will start with the first category, so the one where you have a lot of revolution mats, and the unit is basically around red tier, 3 purple, 1 red, around that range. And with the amount of tickets we have, you can expect to get them to Rainbow 5. And again, not going to talk about Kaiser. She's the first pick if you don't have her maxed and she's not orange already. Maybe 3 red can already be considered in the orangish tier, but if we don't get enough tickets, like a total of 600, then she's still a valuable pick. If we get 900 tickets, maybe I wouldn't pick Kaiser in that scenario, but that scenario alone. Okay. So yeah, Kaiser, no brainer, is the first pick. Second pick in the best pick like ranking is Lightning Spear Machine, so big Machine. And the reason being her damage is basically only second to Kaiser, or well, everyone will not deal damage close to Eden in case of a really high deficit. So Eden is theoretically the highest damage dealing unit if you are pushing crazy deficits. But if you are at a normal deficit, then Kaiser is the best damage dealing unit, and Mashani is a close second. She has a shit ton of damage. The AoE is massive, which is something that Kaiser is missing. She's not missing an AoE, she's not missing a single target. She has a lot of CC, which could be a plus or a minus depending on who you're facing, but she's an extremely good unit. Good revolution subnodes, all of them are important. So yeah, really solid pick. In the S plus ranking, I put Evankel and regular Yuri. They are both great units. If you are a new player, you probably already have Evankel Max, so that's not for you. But if you are an old player and you have your Evankel around purple or red, going for her is a good choice. She's going to be super good, especially now that we have Mama Nak, and also if you have her, I doubt it, but could be Anniversary or Revolution 5. She also works well with her. Same thing, pretty much with regular Yuri. Both of them are kind of relying on Mam Anak to survive, or Anniversary Iwa, or I would say even an array, or a unit like, okay, the name is not coming to my mind at the moment. Uraha. I don't know why I was not thinking of her, but whatever. So those kind of units that can give your squishy close range carry a sort of cheat death mechanic, they will work extremely well with these two new units. And if you don't have those, even though Anak you will probably have, I might skip on these two entirely, but whatever. Then we have Data Machine, extremely good pick if you have a lot of mats to invest and if you can get her to Rainbow 5. If you cannot get her to Rainbow 5, she goes down, but we're going to see in the following ones. Ren is also a pretty good pick, is not the best because his damage is going to fall off eventually, even though I still believe with Garam and potentially even Mamanak, this guy is still quite a monster, but definitely doesn't have enough damage when compared to a Mashini or a regular Yuri. But he has its advantages and is super easy to use. Early on, he's going to be a one-man army, so I still think is going to be a great pick. Data Machine, on the other end, I mean, if you already have Kaiser, she's a bit redundant, even though you don't have to play them together, but it's two blue units that could potentially carry. I would say she's good. Her damage is insanely high, and at times it rivals the damage that Kaiser deals if you're not at too high of a deficit, but she does need investment in the subnodes for sure. And without it, she's not really going to perform that well. So is an okay pick, but I wouldn't really prioritize her that much. We have Eden that is pretty low at this in this category because you are guaranteed to get him to Rainbow 5 more or less, and you have a lot of Revolution math, which is not going to leverage as much as the other units in the list. He's still going to get crazy good benefits, but if you have the other options, I would still go for the other ones because in Eden at purple or red that you have at this tier is more than enough to carry already, so he's lower in priority if you already have him at purple or red. So yeah, that's more or less the idea. Jinsung is also in the same category as Eden. Is not really that helpful, though he also works well with both Garam and Anak. I would say those two units really brought a lot of changes to a lot of teams. But the issue is that a lot of units rely on them. And I already mentioned them like 4 times for 4 different units. They also work with Eden, they also work with data machine, so it's already these 5 units already benefit from having both Mamanak and Garam in the team. So yes, he works. Yes, he deals a ton of damage with them. But without them, it's just average. You're not really going to kill enemies just relying on Ryana. So I don't know. He's a great pick, but below all the other ones from my point of view. And then we also have Evan, and if you can get him to Rainbow 5, that's awesome. In this category, you would already have him at purple or red to reliably kind of get him to Rainbow. But the fact that he's this low is because you're not going to use the Revolution mats on him anyway, so it's kind of wasted if you have access to those resources. So you should go for one of the others above in that scenario. Then for the second category, actually, I don't know if you were seeing Evan at all. Yes, you probably were. Okay, that's good. Because I wasn't sure on the frame of the whole thing, but okay. So for the second category, again, we have the unit at green or blue. If you have a Kaiser green or blue, again, go for her. You want to max her first, so no brainer. In this case, Eden and Ren both gain value, so they are up to S+, because even if you cannot reliably get them to Rainbow 5, their value at 3 red / orange 4 is really high, so you can still leverage them and use them super easily. They are not going to cost you a lot of revolution mats, but still the best picks overall if you cannot get the unit to Rainbow 5. Adult Machine is right after them, I would say, because it's true that she's good at like orange, given you can actually get her to orange. So if you are like 3 blue, you should get her to orange 4, hopefully. And in that scenario, she's going to get access to a really good Revolution 4, which would put her higher priority than, for example, an Eden or a Ren. But assuming you can only get her to like 3 red, orange 1, orange 2, she's slightly below. She will still work, but not worth the effort from my point of view. Same thing with a regular Yuri. If you cannot get her special move like her Rainbow 5, which will guarantee her an early special move, then she's kinda meh. Though if you play her with, again, Mamanak, you'll probably be fine already at 3 red. So that's the reason why she's in S, but be aware that her value without the subnodes and without the early special move is lower. And you will see the trend of some units. Some units will go up the fewer resources you have. Some units will go down the fewer resources you have. And regular Yuri is definitely one of such cases. Then we have Evankel. Probably shouldn't even have mentioned her. If you cannot get her to Rainbow 5, she's kind of meh, but for the same reason as regular Yuri, we have Mamanak now, so her survivability is a bit less of an issue. Her energy regen for chaining special move is also less of an issue. So still A, I would say in terms of priority, but not that great of a unit. And I would say for Data Machine is a similar reason. Like if you cannot get her to Rainbow 5 and investment, her damage is pretty much negligible. So she's probably even worse than an Evankel, kind of. Yeah. So not really worth going for her. So only A. Then we have Jinsung. If you don't have, like, if you cannot get him to Rainbow 5, is not as big of a deal as the other units, but definitely he still has less value than them. And there is no Evan in this category because you cannot get him to Rainbow 5, so you might as well not go for him entirely. So this is more or less the idea here. And as you can see, there is no Zahard, there is no Auric, there is no Data Auric, there is no Awakened Drag, there is no Gustang, there is no Karaka. Even though Karaka, I will probably mention him in the last category, but like those units, if you don't have these ones that are pretty much carries or really good supports that benefit from Rainbow 5, I wouldn't go for them in general. Then, yeah, I would say that's all also for the second category. For the third one, low to no revolution mats and purple to red tier on the unit. And in this case, your add-on is going to be the best unit right after Kaiser, simply because you don't have the revolution mats, but it doesn't need them, and you can get him to Rainbow 5, which it doesn't strictly need, but definitely gives him access to Revolution 5, which is pretty massive, an 80% magic resistance shred for 10 seconds after the special move. Super cool, so pretty nice investment to make. Then we have Ren, which, yes, is not going to deal a lot of damage without Revolution investment, which is why it went down to just S. But still, he has a lot of value just being there as a debuffer, as a tank in general. Is a pretty solid unit. To be honest, I could move him a bit down, probably to A and move up Mashini. I could probably do that, but I still feel like for an early account, Iran is going to be a one-man army a lot easier to use. So yeah, if you are a lot deeper into the game, Mashini would be preferable. If you're just starting out, I would still go for Ren. Then we have Evan going up in the tiers here because you don't have Revolution mats, but you don't have to use them on him. And he's here because all the other options just lost a lot of value and he didn't lose any. Like he has the same value as the first category here. If you had a lot of mats and you could reasonably get him to Rainbow 5. He didn't lose any value, it's just that all the other one or gain any value here. It's just that all the other ones lost their value, so he went up to S. Definitely one of the best use like scenarios where you would want to go for an Evan because you don't have the mats to spend and he's already purple or red. Just get him to Rainbow 5 and be done with him. He's going to be super good. Then we have these other four units that are more or less interchangeable. Mashini has the priority, the adult version, because she's the stronger unit overall. But all of these really want a lot of investment in the subnodes, though they are not the best. But they do perform somewhat okay, even just by being Rainbow 5. And with them being Rainbow 5, all you are left with is just getting the Revolution mats. So that's just one thing you have to worry about. You don't have to then worry about, okay, I have to get them to Rainbow 5 and then invest the resources. No, you already have them Rainbow 5. It's for the future. And once you have the resources, you can invest in them. So these are more like investment for the future kind of thing. And yeah, they're still better than the other option that I didn't even mention. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this category. The last one is you have no revolution mats or low revolution mats, and your unit is green or blue tier. Add-on, absolutely super top pick because it just needs 3 red or even 3 purple. It's going to shred the enemies. It's going to do just fine. No worries. And with this amount of investment, you can reliably get him to 3 red for sure. So yeah, definitely awesome pick. And it's going to be the best value right after Kaiser. For S plus, I didn't put anyone. I could have moved some units up, but I just wanted to highlight the fact that in this scenario, Eden is way above the other options. Iran would still be fine. Reason why I put him at S, because he will be at 3 red reasonably, maybe even orange. He can tank a lot, he can deal a lot of damage in the early phases. If you are later on, you shouldn't be in this category, to be honest. You should have some of the good units with some dupes, but in case you are, this is a good unit to have with some dupes. It can help against some Urek or some other enemies. It works fine against any color, doesn't really matter, it's super tanky. The damage is fine. Obviously, without investment, it's going to be somewhat meh, but it's going to be okay. And he's also getting a buff with Traumerei, which is just kind of worth mentioning. Should be an 80% attack to both him and the Bull, which is not bad. One of the few units that can actually buff summons, so pretty relevant, I think. Then we have in the A rank, I just put Machine, same reason as the previous one, just to get some additional dupes, and there is no other units that really is that much more valuable. I could have put, I think, Yuri in the same rank. Actually, let me do just that. Because yeah, also regular Yuri is more or less the same. She can be used without investment. She's not going to perform that well. Actually, I wouldn't put her at the same level as a Machine because Machine is going to perform better, probably. So yeah, I'll put her at the same level as a Jinsung. And then we have again Jinsung reappearing here. I removed him from the previous tier, but in here it kind of makes sense because it can be used, it can rely on the other units, it can assassinate if you are at a low deficit, which you probably are if you are in this category. I believe if you don't have, like, yeah, if you're in this category, you might not be at a really super high deficit, so it can help. Reason why is in B, but not really too much value in here. So this is just overall how I structured it. Let me know if it makes sense or if it doesn't. I took a different approach from the previous video where you had like some quadrants and stuff. I think this one should be okay as a kind of idea, but is again kind of hard to follow. For that reason, I tried to put all of these in a sort of general priority, which we're going to see right now. But again, not to like, I don't know how much value this is going to provide, but this is in general, if I didn't know anything about your account, and if we were to give an order to these units, I would say Kaiser is your first priority. She's always going to be good. She deals a lot of damage. She's used in multiple content. Absolutely first pick. If you already have her at like orange tier or above or already Rainbow 5, the next unit I would look for is Eden because that guy is going to be super valuable no matter which kind of stage in the game you are. Super, super useful, great DPS, doesn't matter the deficit, super important unit. And even without investment, you can just go for him and be sure you're not going to make a bad decision. Right after him, I would go for Ren because as we saw more or less from the recommendation here, he's still pretty solid regardless of what you have. If you have a lot of mats and you can get him to Rainbow 5, is not the best pick, but it's still a solid one. If you have lower dupes, he's still fine because he doesn't need Rainbow 5 necessarily. He's going to get a lot of benefits from it, but not really too important. And same thing if you don't have a lot of investment. He will still tank, even though he's not going to deal a lot of damage. He will still be valuable. So I believe putting him in third place is not a bad choice. But again, I know a lot of people don't like him. I get it. He's a weirdo, but at least he can provide value to any account, more or less. Right after, I put the Mashini adult version because she is, as I mentioned, probably the second best DPS in this game right after Kaiser at a normal deficit. Obviously, the best one, again, is going to be Eden if you're pushing crazy high deficits. But Mashini, crazy good value. The thing that could make her be less valuable than I made her appear to be is if you have Joaquin and Vivi, both of them maxed out, and your purple team is not struggling, then getting a Machine is not going to do much. Still, amazing unit, amazing at the deficit, way better than the alternatives. So yeah, still worth it. But if you do have Joaquin and Vivi and you don't really feel the need to replace them, you could even skip her. Right after regular Yuri, Evankel, and Machine, I would say these three could kind of be interchangeable based on which kind of element you need the more help with. Data Machine is the lowest one because we already have a Kaiser, pretty much. If you don't have her, pick Kaiser. And for the other two, you are most likely to be like without any actual carry, especially for red, which makes Evankel really, really important. For green, two, but one, we're getting Traumerei. Two, Ren is really cheap to build. so would be my preferred choice, even though regular Yuri has an higher ceiling in terms of damage potential, but Ren is a lot easier to use, will fit, like it's a lot easier to fit in any kind of team. So from my point of view, he is the preferred choice. Evan, awesome pick because you really want him to be Rainbow 5, and that's it. The other unit would be Jinsung just because I mentioned him. So he's still okay if you don't have the other, like if you already have all the other units here built, or you cannot really pick them because they're already orange-ish, whatever, you can go for Jinsung, it's fine. Or you can go for some of the other ones if you want the extra dupes, up to you. And then the last one, Karaka, just to mention him, is going to be super solid at Revolution 4, so Orange 4. If all the other options are already built and you can get this guy to Orange 4, go for him. He's like pool that he gets from the Revolution 4 upgrade is going to be super helpful. He's going to get all the enemies from the enemy team and group them together. Absolutely amazing. So I thought it was good mentioning him. All the other ones don't really matter. Gustang might go up and be recommendable if Traumerei actually buffs him like crazy and they have a really good synergy, like it seems to be the case. But again, without prior testing, I cannot really recommend him. That's also why saying to save your resources or your tickets and wait is also a good choice because Gustang might overtake some of the other units, depending on how well he interacts with the zero dupes from Ray. I think I will probably test that out tomorrow for sure. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful to you guys. Let me know if you have any doubts in the comments down below, or if you don't like the format, if you would like it to be done in a different way, let me know. And if you save your tickets, I might do a follow-up video with some corrections. So again, if you don't have a really reason to pull for the unit immediately, you can wait. That's always going to be the best. And I might remake this video or provide additional information if anything changes. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you liked it, please drop a like and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the live stream. I already kind of set the time, but I'm not 100% sure. It should be 5:30 p.m. Central European Summer Time. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.